All right, finally got in here. Sorry, running just a minute or two late tonight, guys. So good to see you all. I think I'm going to wait just a second for it to catch up. Hopefully we're getting in here. I do want to give you guys the disclaimer I normally give if this is your first time here. And, well, first of all, this is the weekly live broadcast. Sorry. Every Thursday evening, pretty much, 7 o'clock Central, I'm in here. Unless something comes up and I can't make it for whatever reason, life gets in the way, something like that. Who knows? But I'm here now and getting ready to go here. Okay, so the disclaimers I normally give, this is your first time here, ask anything you want to ask. This is just an Ask Me Anything session. Keep it family friendly is the only thing we'll ask because we will kick you out if you don't. And we got a couple of people in here already. And look at that, Mark Meyer here with a $2 super chat already. Thank you so much. And I wasn't even here yet and throwing money at me. I appreciate that. Very generous of you. Thank you. And hello to you, Sharon Pace. And Marie Scott says, hi, Chris. How are you tonight? Doing well, thank you very much. Ultimate Outdoor Boys is here. Hello to you. Waiting for everybody to join in, and we'll get going again. If you're not familiar with this, just ask your comments in the live chat portion of it. I do my best to answer all of the comments. Give me a little while to get through them all, and you can kind of see where I'm at in the comments section. Every once in a while I miss one, so if you notice that I've passed your comment, go ahead and ask again, and I'll do my best to get to it and to answer it. If you're coming to this after it's live and you leave a comment, I usually get to those too, but it takes me a couple of days sometimes with that. So, all right, so Peter Flatten is here, Charles Cruz, Jupiter, the Argentine Tegu, hello to you. And Ultimate Outdoor Boy says, what's your opinion on putting quail in a chicken tractor? I don't see any problem with that. If you want to run them in a tractor in your yard, go for it. I think it's a great option. The only things I say about that is, you do stand a slightly higher chance if they're in contact with the ground of them getting some kind of disease or parasite or picking something up like that. But it's probably not that big of a risk. It just depends on your area, how big of a risk those are in your area. But it's a great option if you want to run your quail in a tractor. I don't know. I don't have experience with it myself, so I can't say how it's going to affect their egg laying. Quail get pretty stressed out pretty easily when it comes to moving them around from cage to cage. So moving them in a tractor around might stress them out a little bit. They may not be very good at laying eggs that way, but you'd have to give it a try. Chances are they'll get used to it and it won't be that big of a deal. So I would say, go for it. If that's what you want to do, try it out, see how it works. You could probably get away, if you happen to build a tractor for them, you could probably get away with building them something much smaller than a normal chicken tractor. Get away cheaper, see how well it works for you first. I don't know, just a thought on that. So I would say go for it though if you want to. Report back to us, let us know how it's going. All right, Grinnin says, hello from the King's Mountain. I'm not sure where the King's Mountain is, but hello to you and thanks for joining. Jupiter wants to know how the baby rabbits are doing. They're all doing fine. I counted 8 to begin with when she first had them. I lost one, and one got out of the nest box, ended up chilling, couldn't save it. And then when they all got their eyes open and started getting out of the nest box and moving around, I still count 8. So she must have had 9 to begin with. So not bad. You do lose one every once in a while in a bigger litter, 8 or 9. The last litter she had, I lost 4 out of. So this is much, much better. She's doing great with them. They're all doing fantastic. All right, Lauren, hello to you. And Sunny wants to know how the Kickstarter is doing. Kickstarter's over. We did not reach our funding goal, nowhere near. It was pretty pathetic, actually. Thank you to all you guys that supported me. I appreciate that. But I think we only had like 25, and then we only got like 10% funded or something like that. So not good. I don't know what the next step's going to be on that. If we're going to have, if I'm going to be able to get anything out on market or not. I may just have to give up it at this point because I kind of feel like that's an indicator that, I don't know, maybe people are not really interested in it anyway. So, sorry, I'm adjusting the camera just a little bit. I felt like it was a little too high. All right. So anyway, we'll see. Who knows? Maybe something will come of that. Maybe it won't. I don't know that I can I don't know that I can come up with the funds to place any kind of bulk order to be able to bring something to market without, it's just expensive to do. So we'll see. Who knows? Maybe I can come up with something. All right. Where are we at here? Javoni says hello. Hello to you. Kathy Hampston says, hi, Chris. How are you? What do you know about torts or tries? I got a really cool coloring on one kit, and I'm trying to identify. Honestly, I don't know a lot about that, about the color combinations that you're talking about. So I don't know that I'd be the best option for that. I'm just a meat breeder, and I breed, for meat. So I don't really get into, I mean, it's just not my deal. I'm just not that interested in, not that it's not interesting, not that I'm saying you shouldn't be interested in. I'm just personally not that interested in being able to, going with different colors and the weird color combinations and all. So probably not the best source to be able to answer that one for you. I'm sorry. All right, Brennan says, I kept 8 in a 2x4 tracker and they appeared more healthy than my cage birds. I hear that if you've got the aviary or whatever, they do great in those. I know they would. And running them in a tractor is probably a good option for them. They're going to have access to bugs and things like that on the ground, which is great for them. So I don't see, again, why you shouldn't do it. I may try it out at some point. Who knows? Thank you for that report, by the way. All right, Tyler says, hi, Chris. I asked this question on the Facebook page, but I have meat makers and I'm getting double yolks like crazy. It's kind of aggravating me trying to save eggs for incubating. Oh, no. I'm sorry, I'm not always on the Facebook groups. I'm not always in there real active on that. I'm pretty bad at Facebook, actually. I need to do better at that, I know. So I'm sorry if I haven't answered on there. Let's see, double yolks all the time. It could be, if your birds are young, or they first started laying for the season, after a long delay, that's pretty common. You're going to get some double yolk eggs, but a lot of them seems a little bit weird. I'm not sure of anything that you could be doing that would be causing that. It makes me wonder if it's not like a genetic trait of some kind. I don't know. I'm sorry, you kind of stumped me on that one. I mean, I get a double yolk egg every once in a while, but not that many of them. So I can't figure out what exactly would be causing that. I don't know. Maybe somebody else in here will have a comment and know. I'm sorry I can't give you a clear answer on it. But again, if they're young birds that just started laying, or they went through a season of not laying and then they've just started laying again, you might attribute it to that, because that's pretty common. You're going to get weird eggs when they first start laying. It just takes them a little while. Usually that clears up though within like 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks at the most. So if it's going on longer than that, then it's something else. And again, it makes me wonder if it's not a genetic thing. Maybe they're just more prone to it for some reason or another. I really don't know. Roger says, hello, Chris from New Mexico. Love your channel. Thank you very much, Roger. I appreciate that. Billy is here. Hey, buddy. He says, hey to you. Lauren says, we have 6 rabbits due in 3 to 4 days. An older doe is stashing hay and pulling hair 4 days early. If she did kindle tonight, do you think it's too early for the babies to be done baking? Oh, well, no, I wouldn't worry about it. 3 to 4 days, a couple of days here or there. Some of them have them a couple of days early. Some of them have them a couple of days late. Chances are she's just an early nest builder. That's probably more the case. So I wouldn't worry about it, though. If she does have her babies tonight, it's probably going to be just fine. It is weird for them to start pulling, not necessarily for them to start hay stashing. I usually notice my doe starts hay stashing usually 2, maybe 3 days before they actually have their babies. But they don't usually start pulling fur. Mine don't anyway, usually until they actually have their babies. They have their babies, then they pull the fur, and that's how I know they've had their babies. So it's a little bit weird for them to start pulling fur early, but every rabbit has their own personality. So my guess is that she's just building her nest early, getting ready for it. You're probably not going to have to worry about it. But again, if she does have her babies a little bit early, it's probably not a big deal. I wouldn't stress about it. All right, Ron says, my new little giant incubator is supposed to arrive next Monday. How long do I run a test before I'll be ordering eggs? Thanks. Just a couple of days, honestly. You might run it for 3 or 4 days just to make sure everything's running just right. I wouldn't worry about it much after that. If it's running right for 3 or 4 days, it's probably going to be just fine. All right, Sunny says, how can I get a couple of lights? I think you're talking about my solar light right now. I don't have any for sale. I have the 2 prototypes that I'm using on my cages, the ones that I developed and worked with to get them and test them out and make sure they're working. They're still working. They're still doing just fine. I did have a little bit of a problem with one of them because, they're outside. They're not completely waterproof, weatherproof. And I had one where it got very wet inside because of heavy rains, and where I had it sitting on top of the cage. I've since suspended them above the cage under the roof. They're a little bit more protected, so they're a little less likely to get water in them. But I did end up having to take that apart. And what had happened was, because it got so much water and it got wet, one of the wires had come off, and I just had to resolder it back on. Works just fine now. So that is something that, if I do get the lights, you'll have to keep in mind that you do need to keep them protected from. You can't just put them out in the weather and let them get rained on. So that's a little bit difficult on that, but not that big of a deal for me. I don't know that I'll have them. I mean, we kind of talked about that a minute ago with the Kickstarter not being successful. I don't know if your comment was before or after that, but I don't know if I'll be able to get them or not because I don't have the money to put into them to get a big bulk order. You got to order like, 1,000 units at a time to get the bulk order. And, that's not necessarily cheap to do. So we'll see. All right. Marie Scott says, is there anything to do for my quail while they're molting? They look very pitiful. Yeah, sit back and pity them. That's pretty much all you can do. I mean, you might, if you have a chance, if you're not running a high protein feed, up the protein a little bit during that time frame, especially when they're molting, they're going to need the higher protein to regrow feathers. But other than that, it's not really anything to worry about. There's not really a whole lot that you need to do. Let's see what else. That's about it, honestly. Gary B says, good evening all. I thought about converting my small coops to set on ground and move like a tractor. Hadn't thought about egg disturbance. Yeah, again, I don't know that it will disturb their eggs. Just give them, if you're moving them around a lot, my guess is that they're probably going to get used to that pretty quick. So it might stress them out for, a couple of weeks. They may stop laying, but then they'll pick right back up and they'll start laying again. They'll get used to being moved around. In fact, what they'll probably get is pretty excited when you move them to new ground. They get a whole new patch of grass to go through, a whole new patch, with insects and all that kind of stuff. So they'll probably get to where they look forward to that. It's just going to take them a little while to adjust to it. Once they do, they'll probably be just fine. All right, Gretchen says, hello from Little Rock. Little Rock's not too far from me. Says, how would I be able to come across freezer camp quail that I would be able to purchase and try before getting into raising them for my family? Good question. There are some places that sell quail meat online. You can order them. It's ridiculously expensive, I think, but it is an option. You could do that. You could look online and order quail from I think Amazon's probably even got quail meat that you can order. The other option would be to look for somebody locally that raises quail. Look on Craigslist or whatever and contact them and see if they'll butcher a few of them for you and sell them to you. They might be a little bit of an upcharge for doing that. Unless you want to buy them live and butcher them yourself. But if you don't want to process them yourself, you might try to contact them and see if they would do. That would be my best guess on it. And that's probably the way I would go with it. I would just look for somebody locally. Chances are if there's somebody locally that's raising quail, they're going to be willing to get rid of a couple of roosters anyway. So, it's not going to be a hard thing to do. I would think so anyway. All right. And, you're in Little Rock. So, it's a little bit of a drive to, Southwest Missouri, Joplin. But if you're ever up this way, hit me up ahead of time. I could probably do that for you. All right. Mark Meyer says, Shark Tank. Oh, Shark Tank for the light. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if that's an option or not. Who knows? Maybe. We'll see. Jennifer says, what's a cheap cage that's good for quails and is big and makes them happy? Wow, that's tough. If you're looking for a pre-made cage, cheap probably doesn't go with pre-made cage. You're going to pay quite a premium for that. Now, if you have any building skills, it's not that difficult to put a cage together. Just build a wooden frame and wrap it with some hardware cloth, staple it on there, and put you a couple of doors on it. That's probably your cheapest way to do it. That would, I don't know of any pre-made cages that meet the requirements you're talking about with being a pretty good size and makes them happy. My quail do pretty well in the hutches that I built for them, and that hutch cost me probably close to $100 to build. But you could do it a lot cheaper. You could get away with a smaller cage for just a couple of quail. That's the best way to get cost savings on that. Dedicated quail cages, trying to think. There are a couple places that sell them, but generally what I see with those are like battery style cages, which are for like breeders. So they're meant to be in like a rack system, and they're pretty small. They're only meant to hold like 4 or 5 birds at the most. You could get, those like pre-made chicken coops, but you're looking at, $100, and they're cheap. They're not cheap in price. They're cheaply made generally. Not all of them, but most of them are made with real cheap wood, real cheap materials. They don't last very long. They're not very sturdy. And they're not really necessarily ideal for quail either. So I would suggest look at building one. They're not that difficult to build. You can probably put one together pretty cheap. All right. Waylon says, hey. Hey to you, Waylon. And Giovanni says, my rabbit has her babies out of the nest box and I only get to say 5 out of 8 babies. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. Unfortunately, that happens sometimes. It's always best. I always recommend anyway, whenever it gets close to your rabbit having her babies, it's always best to try to be around as much as you can, check on the rabbit as much as you can, because you might be able to find that, if you do find them on the nest floor, you can pick them up, put them back in the nest box. Sorry, let me grab another drink there. Keep hydrated so I don't run out of voice here. All right, Waylon says, this is me, Wago Crazy. Hey there. Good to see you, Waylon. Thanks for joining us. If I remember right, you live in Nacogdoches, Texas, which is where I used to live. All right, William says, hello, Chris from Alabama. I got a great hatch this week. I now have a whole different batch that have started to drop eggs, all thanks to you. Well, fantastic. Congratulations, man, and well done. Don't thank me for it. You're the one that did the work, so good job. All right, Waylon says, every time I don't know if your room, like, do you remember me in filing rabbit's toenails? I think there was some probably autocorrect in there, so I'm kind of confused on that. I do remember talking to somebody about filing rabbit toenails, and I remember who you were, I think. I got you matched up anyway. All right, Cruel Intention says, hey, brother, love your videos. Keep up the great work, and God bless. Thank you so much, and God bless you too. I appreciate that. Adams Backcountry Living says, are you in Joplin, Missouri? Yes, I am in Joplin, Missouri. I think I just mentioned that, actually. Funny that you asked that. I didn't even see the comment yet. Squatched in Alabama says, hey to everyone. And Kinfolk Farm says, hello, Chris. Been a while. Our quail are rocking. Really going to turn it up this year. Thanks again for all your help. Well, thank you for watching the videos. I appreciate it. And I'm glad that they're proving to be helpful for you. Personal Preparedness says, I love your channel. My quail have not started laying yet. I did show a video of a quail laying an egg. They seemed unimpressed. Oh, you showed them a video. They seemed unimpressed. How much daylight hours do they need before they start laying? Good question. About 14 hours a day is standard. Right now, my quail aren't really laying much either. I've got the lights on them, so I'm getting a couple of eggs out of them, but it's not, even with the lights, I mean, the days are just so short. I usually find that even with artificial light, extending the light to 14 hours a day, right around the end of December, it's usually right around the end of December through about January, up till about now. They should start picking up any time now because the days are starting to get longer. But right about then, even then, the egg production's a little bit spotty. I think it's just because even with artificial light on them, there's just not enough. They still need some actual daylight in order to lay the eggs. But 14 hours a day is the bare minimum to keep them laying. And you can do that with adding some external lighting. All right, Squatched in Alabama says, throw a light on, they'll start laying in 3 days or so. Yep, there you go. Jesse Olson says, ever have a rabbit lose fur on its chest and front legs? None of the other rabbits are losing hair. Not sure if it's a neurological issue. Can't see mites and ears are clean. Gave him ivermectin. Okay. So it could be a couple of different things. You say him, which makes me think that it's a buck, so it's not a doe. So you don't have a problem with a doe that's maybe pulling fur or anything like that. I've had does do that before. Mites would be another thing to be concerned about. But it sounds like you're treating for mites, ivermectin. You probably won't be able to see them. So even if there are mites, being able to see them, being able to not see them, it's probably not something you'll be able to do. What else was I going to say about that? It could be that they're molting, but that's not usually going to lose all their fur. They're just going to look blotchy maybe a little bit. So my guess would be that it is probably mites or something like that. Give them a week and see if they start growing their hair back. I think you're probably doing the right thing. Is about all you can do anyway. All right. Marie says, when you're getting lots of eggs, how do you store them so you can make sure to use the oldest first? I got egg cartons, but most of my eggs are too big. Okay, I think you're talking about like storing for eating and trying to use the oldest ones first. I don't have a good method for that. I put them all in a big bowl, and I use them as I can. Every great once in a while, I end up just like, okay, I got too many eggs, I have to throw some out or something like that. But I usually stay on top of using them up pretty good, so I don't really have a big problem with that. I need to work on a method for that. I would suggest, yeah, I don't use, and you're saying that you've got egg cartons, but most of your eggs are too big. I think you probably got quail egg cartons then. I just use chicken egg cartons for mine whenever I store them in cartons. Most of the time I just put a big plastic bowl in the fridge and I just put them in a bowl. That's it. I don't put them in cartons or anything like that. But if you put them in cartons, you could easily, like chicken egg cartons, you can fit several, more than a dozen eggs in there. So it works pretty well. I just stack the eggs up in there, and then you can kind of rotate those to where you're at least keeping the last, I don't know, 24 or so, the oldest ones on top, and, to use them up. That would be my only suggestion. All right, Keith says, hello, Chris from Leesburg, Missouri. Hello to you. I don't know exactly where Leesburg is. Is that up near Kansas City? I'm not sure. Anyway, fellow Show Me Stater here, so good to see you. Waylon says, yes, I do. Says, yes, I do to, I think that was to living in Nacogdoches, so I got you right. Excuse me. Choked myself there. All right, Jupiter says, will you be doing any more egg giveaways with Hutch Poultry Farm? Possibly, you never know. I don't have one specifically planned, but I'm sure we'll do another one at some point. Jennifer says, says Gary B. to Jennifer, if not wanting to build something, try thrift shops, flea markets, or large guinea pig cages. Just wrap in wire, not as big as Chris's, but a nice starting cage. That's a good suggestion. Yeah, garage sales, like you said, thrift shops, flea markets, some of those kinds of things. You might be able to find some other animal cages. If you have poultry swaps in your area or small animal swaps, like we have a local feed store that does a poultry swap the first Saturday of every month, and sometimes that's a good place to find cages. You might look on Craigslist for cages too. That might be a cheap way to get into them. Sometimes you can find somebody selling a cage fairly cheap. Keith says, I received my 50 eggs from Hatch Poultry Farms today. We'll start incubating them tomorrow evening. Fantastic. Good luck with your hatch. Hopefully it goes well. Waylon says, I should have California babies in a week. How many babies should I have? Boy, that's a good question. First of all, good luck. Hopefully it all goes really, really well. Californians are usually pretty good producers. I'd expect anywhere from about 7 to 10, probably with about 8 being the average. Hopefully you get a pretty good batch of baby rabbits there. All right, Mason's Animal says, I love watching your videos. You inspired me to create a YouTube channel about my animals. Awesome. Hopefully that goes well. Good luck with it. And thank you for watching my videos. I appreciate it. Keith says, Chris, Leesburg is straight up I-44, about 40 minutes past Fort Leonard Wood. Oh, okay. That makes sense. Straight up I-44. The only thing is I-44 doesn't run up. It runs sideways. But that's okay. I'm just picking on you. So Fort Leonard Wood, that'd be out by, Lebanon, right? A little bit past Springfield. Isn't Fort Leonard Wood there? Or am I getting that mixed up? Anyway, I think I got a pretty good idea where it is now. All right, Danny says that's where the Gasconade Rivers runs through there, and what else? Well, here I got a map right here on my wall. It's too much to look at right now. I'll do that later. All right, Danny says, hello, Chris. Thanks for all your vids and the quick response to the question I had about quail. I watched your cage build videos and wanted to make sure you don't have any regrets before starting. No, I'm pretty happy with my quail hutches. The only thing I don't like about them is the barrel latch system that I used. It worked great for a little while, but what I'm finding is that, in the summertime when it's really humid, the wood tends to swell, or after it rains, the wood tends to swell. And a lot of times those barrel latches start getting misaligned. So that may not be the best solution for a latch. It's not that big a deal for me. It works sometimes. Like one of the cages right now, I need to adjust it. I just end up taking the latches off, reposition them, put them back on. It's not that big a deal. It works fine for a while. Eventually they get out of alignment again because the wood's swelling and shrinking a little bit. But what I've got the one cage now, and when I close it, I got to bang on the side of it to kind of bang it over to where the bolt lock, barrel lock will lock it. But nothing's able to get into them, so that's good. All right, so Waylon says, Nacogdoches is a good place. How did you like it? I like Nacogdoches. It was a nice little small town. There's a couple of cool things that go on there. I liked it. I liked living there. I thought it was nice. All right, Adam's backyard or back country living says, I'm in Goodman. Hey, yeah, that's right down the road. Says, I wanted to get into quail. I have chickens and ducks. I'm doing the half Listerine and water. Maybe this one will be better. I hope it is. Good luck with that. Yeah, you're just right down the road. So, if you ever need some quail, and I sell them occasionally, hit me up, let me know, and I'll try to save some. It'll be spring before I do any incubating and have any. But, yeah, we could work something out, I'm sure. All right, Owen Miller says, hi, how you doing? I'm doing well, thank you. Hopefully you are too. Param Morati, I think I got your name. Maybe I pronounced it wrong. I'm sorry if I did. Says, hey, Chris, my quail love to waste most of their food. Yep, that's pretty common. Says, and there's times where I'm not home for a day or two and I don't want them starving. Do you know any low waste system or feeders? Okay, what I use is, see, I don't have anything in here, but I use like Tupperware style containers, the plastic container with a lid on it for like food storage. And I just cut a hole in the side of it where they can stick their head through and eat. Way less feed waste. And if you use a pretty big one, I've got one in one of my cages. It's like this, I think it's made by Rubbermaid. It's about this long, by about that wide, by about that deep. And just cut the holes, leave some space at the bottom, of course. They don't need to be big holes, just big enough for them to get their head through. About as high up on that container as you can. It's only about that tall anyway. And you can fill that up with quite a bit of food, and it'll last them for several days. And they don't really waste much out of that. So that's kind of what I use. I've done videos on it before, but I probably need to do another one at some point and show those off a little bit. All right, Liam says, do you ever think about getting show birds to sell fertile eggs for some money? No, not really. I'm not saying don't do it yourself, but no, I don't, that's not my deal. I don't want to get into that. I'd have to probably get NPIP certified, and I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it for the food. So probably not going to do that. All right. Angel says, should I clean eggs before incubating if they are dirty? Well, kind of. And what I mean by that is you want to, probably wipe them off, paper towel or something like that, but don't wash them. And honestly, if they're overly dirty eggs, don't even incubate them. Just throw them out, or, wash them and then use them to eat with or something like that. But if you do wash the egg, like run it under water and scrub it real good, you're going to end up washing the bloom off of it, and then there's a good chance that you're going to introduce bacteria. That egg's probably not going to hatch anyway, and probably you're going to end up with it's probably going to die. So it's probably not a good idea to introduce that into your incubator. If you are having a problem with all of your eggs being overly dirty, and by dirty I mean like feces stuck on them, that kind of thing, then get a sandbox for your birds. They'll lay almost all their eggs in there, and it's like the cleanest eggs you've ever seen. It's crazy. Makes a big difference in that. So that would be my suggestion with that. Hopefully that got that answered for you. All right, Waylon says, how did you get so many subs? Just wondering, because I'm trying to get more subs. Boy, I wish I could answer that. I just put out videos. I kept putting out videos, and people liked them, I guess, started subscribing to them. My view counts aren't that high right now, but that's okay. I'm not in it for the view counts and the subs and all that kind of stuff. I'm in it to interact with you guys. I use it as an outlet for me because I really like to teach. I like to be able to help people out. This is a way for me to do it. I am working on trying to make my videos a little bit more entertaining. You may have noticed that, working on trying to be a little bit more consistent with getting some music in there and some, some side shots of, B-roll shots, that kind of thing, to make them hopefully a little bit more entertaining for you guys, because I realize that they're probably not that entertaining. Also working on trying to get a little bit more personal life. I realize so many of my videos are just, just about like this thing about rabbits or this thing about quail, and we don't really, don't get to personalize myself in there. So I'm going to try to do that as well. But as far as like how to get your view counts up, the only things I can say is, make your channel about something, not just random stuff, and because that'll draw more people in. Figure out who it is that you want to be able to cater to. Like, what I do is I want to be able to cater to people that are you know, raising quail, raising rabbits, raising meat or vegetables in their backyards, their homes, their homesteads, you know, whatever. And I want to be able to connect with those kinds of people. So that's kind of what my videos are about. That's what my videos are geared towards. Makes sense, hopefully. Find out what you're good at, what you like doing. There's somebody out there that likes doing that stuff too. Make your videos about that. And you'll be able to communicate with other people. Don't get too stressed out about the subs and the views and all those kinds of things. Just work on making good content and doing it pretty regularly. All right. Excuse me. All right. Another drink here. All right, Param says, thanks, Chris. I'll definitely give that a try. I think talking about the feeders. If you watch any of my quail videos, any of my most recent ones especially, you should be able to see, like when I open up the cages or I'm working around the hutches, you'll be able to see the feeders in the background. It's a pretty simple concept. You probably don't need a whole video on how to make it, but if you can just see it, you'll be like, oh, okay, I get it. You know, it's not that difficult. You can probably do it. All right, Jupiter says, when you clean the eggs with Listerine, do you just mist them lightly or do you get them pretty soaked? No, I just mist them. I don't like soak them in there, just mist them down, that's all. All right. Cyan bird. There we go. I need to get my eyes checked, get new glasses. I've noticed this as I get older. I just turned 46 like a couple of weeks ago. And it seems like, probably wasn't all of a sudden, but it really seems like all of a sudden now. It's like I go to read my phone, I've got to do this with it. And, you know, the last time I went to the eye doctor, which I guess has been about a year and a half ago, they told me I was on the verge of needing bifocals. I could get them if I wanted to, or I didn't need them. Or I didn't have to get them if I didn't want to. And at the time I thought, I don't need bifocals, I'm fine. Now I kind of wish I would have got them. I'm going to have to probably do that next time I go back. Anyway, joys of getting older, right? All right, so back to, I get distracted easily too. Cyanbird says, hey Chris, just wanted to say thanks for your content. You've provided me with a lot of useful information about keeping quail. Much love from Tasmania. Awesome. I don't know if I've had any other viewers from Tasmania or not, but thank you for watching the videos. I'm glad that you're finding them helpful, and I'm glad that they are, well, that's redundant. I'm glad that they're helping you out. Liam says, for $5, would you punch one of your quail full force? No, I'm not going to do that. No, not for any amount of money. I'm not just going to go punch a bird for, that's crazy. That would be mean and cruel. No, I'm not going to do that. All right. Mark says, don't watch you for entertainment. I find your content and knowledge is entertaining. Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you. Waylon says, thank you. It's been entertaining. You do a great job. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. King Coop is here. He says, finally. And says, 3 weeks, and I've been trying to get into here. I think last week you were at the gym, weren't you? If I remember right, you saying that, because I remember thinking, you know, I will never, you will never hear that excuse from me that I couldn't make it somewhere because I was at the gym. Of course, you guys can probably tell by looking at me, I don't go to the gym. It's just not my deal. Christian says, I hatched some quail out last November and early December. The ones that hatched all had crooked toes. Any advice? Okay, that's a pretty common thing when your birds tend to hatch a little bit late. A lot of times they end up with toe problems or leg problems. It could be related to the temperature in your incubator running just a little bit low. And my guess would be it's not very low, maybe a degree low. So what I would always suggest is get a couple of calibrated non-digital thermometers, throw them in your incubator, and verify that your incubator is reading the temperature correctly and the thermostat's not off. My guess is it's probably running just a degree, maybe 2 degrees low, so it's causing your birds to hatch out a little late, probably on day like 18, 19, or 20, something like that. And that would probably be the biggest reason why it's causing the crooked toes. That would be my guess. It could be vitamin deficiencies and things like that, but I think that's probably pretty rare. So that would be my first thing to start with, and if that's not the issue, well, then we're going to have to go from there. But that's probably the simplest thing, and that's most likely it. All right, Booyah Kashala, this is a hard name to say for me, he says, happy belated birthday. Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Waylon says, I realize that there are a lot of funny names. Also, you should tell stories about you on YouTube. I should tell some stories about me, huh? Maybe. Who knows? I don't know that stories about me are all that interesting, but they might be. I don't know. All right, G. Michael Jr. says, happy Thursday to you, Chris, and all. How long have you been raising quails and rabbits? When did you feel comfortable that you knew what you were doing? Well, good question. Let's see, I've been raising quail, well, about 6, 7 years. I think I've been raising rabbits. Quail a little bit less than that, like a year or two less. I felt pretty confident right from the start that I knew what I was doing. I mean, there was a very short, learning curve for me, but I grew up a country boy. So I mean, I've raised animals my entire life. Everything from, lizards and reptiles and frogs and turtles and, hamsters and guinea pigs. And I had rabbits when I was a kid. Ducks. Let's see, what else have I raised? Ferrets. Chinchillas, raccoon. I had a baby raccoon for a while. So, I'm pretty familiar with raising animals. And I don't know. Anyway, I think I picked it up pretty quick because of those things. And growing up in a country family, I'm pretty familiar with like chickens and things like that. So, it wasn't that big of a leap for me to get into raising some of these things myself. All right. Jose says, I have 2 male and 8 female quail. I was wondering why my eggs aren't fertilized. Chances are it's because I don't know where you live exactly, Jose. If you're in, North America, USA, it's probably because it's wintertime right now and the days are short. So you may have enough light where you're producing, eggs, but not enough light to get your males really in the breeding mode. You're going to hear them crowing if they are breeding. So that would be my guess, is it's probably because of a lack of light. You don't have at least 14 hours a day of light. And the other thing is, are you sure your eggs aren't fertile? If they're not hatching, that may not be because they're not fertile. You may have problems with your incubator not, the temperature not being right, any of those kinds of things. You can tell if your eggs are fertile if you crack them open, dump the egg out, look at the yolk. There'll be a little white dot on the yolk, and look for a faint bullseye ring around that white dot. It's not going to be real prominent, but you're going to see like a white dot with a dark ring around it. There'll be a white dot regardless, but you're looking for that ring around that white dot. That tells you it's a fertile egg. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. I've done videos on it in the past, but again, my guess is it's probably because it's wintertime, the days are short, there's not enough light. I've got some birds laying eggs, but my roosters aren't crowing right now. The days are just too short. They'll pick it up as the days start getting a little bit longer. All right. Christian Nelson, or Chris, sorry. I'm not sure what, actually, I may have called you by the wrong name earlier, because Chartist. Anyway, Christina maybe, Nelson, hopefully I got it right, says they did hatch on day 18. Yeah, that would be my guess then, that you may need to just bump your incubator temperature up 1 degree, but get a couple of thermometers and verify that first, and make sure it's right. All right. Waylon says, oh, happy birthday also. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Kathy says, is it or was it your birthday? Happy birthday. Hope it was great. Yeah, my birthday was February 8th, so it's been a couple of weeks. It's okay. You guys aren't missing anything. All right. King Coop says, if you remember, oh, but thank you for the birthday wishes. I appreciate it. King Coop says, if you remember, how did you first time trying to butcher go? Well, I say, here, let me grab a drink here real quick. All right, my first time trying to butcher an animal. I did chickens when I was a kid. There was a long span there where I didn't, necessarily butcher anything, but I've always been a hunter. So I've hunted and fished my entire life. So as far as processing animals, I'm very familiar with that. I mean, I've processed everything from deer to, rabbits, wild rabbits to, squirrels, fish, frogs, all those kinds of things. We fished, we did all those things as I grew up. In my entire life, I've done those. So even during the time of my life, a long period in my life when I wasn't raising my own animals or, living with people that were raising their own animals, like my grandparents and those things, I still was a hunter and I still was a fisher. So again, I'm pretty familiar with processing the animal. I will tell you, the first time that I butchered rabbits, though, it was a little bit difficult to figure out how am I going to dispatch this animal. I mean, it's totally different being a hunter and, the beagle's running through the woods, jumps that rabbit up, and he's just rah, 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 rah through the woods. And, here comes that rabbit running out into the field, and you just level that shotgun off, boom, done, it's done. But it's different than whenever it's right there in your hands, and you got to figure out, how am I going to do this? And I live in town. I can't just pull out a gun and shoot the thing because that's my first instinct. So it was a little bit difficult to figure that part out. The first time was probably, that's the hard part, honestly, is just dispatching the animal. After that, it's all pretty straightforward and simple. So yeah, it took a little bit hard time to get over that. But, anyway, hopefully that kind of answers that question for you. Jupiter says, have you raised any Argentine tegus? LOL, they are fun, but not for everybody. Let's see. I don't think I've raised tegus before. I have done savanna monitors, and let's see, what other lizards did I do? Day geckos. Let's see, I had a couple of tokay geckos. But as far as bigger lizards, I think savanna monitors were the biggest ones I did. I don't know. That may be, I think that's the biggest lizards I've ever raised. And when I say raising them, I just had a couple pets. Oh, I did have bearded dragons for a while too, and iguanas. I had some iguanas. All right, Christian Nelson says, just bred my silver fox buck and doe for the first time last week. She is 9 months old. Oh, he is 9 months old. She's 7. He didn't fall off. Should I try again now or wait to palpate? I'd keep trying. Keep trying until you get, a good fall off. That would be my best, my best advice on that. All right, Peanut Peppers says, hello, everyone. Hope everyone is well. Thank you very much. Hope you are too. And Christina confirmed it is Christina. Thank you for that. All right, Liam says, how do you keep your birds healthy living outside? Well, they pretty much do it themselves. I mean, as long as I keep their cages decently clean, keep them fed, and keep them watered, they're pretty healthy birds. There's not really much else I have to do. I don't have any problems with them really being sick or anything like that. All right, first name, last name says, I have 2 males and 3 female quail, so I'm going to have to get rid of 1 male. The bigger male is more aggressive towards the rest, and the other male is smaller. Should I kill the bigger one or the smaller one? Well, that's a good question. Let's see, you have 2 males and 3 females. That's a good question. You got to make a decision there. If it was me personally, I don't know. It depends on how aggressive that bigger one is. And, you might try to separate the smaller one out for a while. I like to keep the bigger birds and breed that into my birds. But at the same time, I don't really tolerate much aggression. I like to get aggression out of there. But again, he may only be an aggressive because there's 2 roosters in there and only 3 hens. So if you can move that smaller rooster off for a while, see if the male calms down. It shouldn't take more than a week to figure it out. Then you can kind of determine, was that the cause or is it just an aggressive bird? And if you determine it is just an aggressive bird, then I might remove him, put the other rooster back in with the hens, and let it go. That would be my advice on it. All right. Waylon says, what's the most rabbits you had? One litter, just curious. I think my biggest litter ever was probably 11, but I ended up losing like 2 or 3 out of that litter. Usually if I get any more than like 9 or 10, if I get 9 or 10 rabbits, I'm going to lose 1 or 2 out of there. It's just a lot for 1 rabbit to hold, to be able to take up. And, a lot of times when I get 8, I lose 1 anyway. It's not that uncommon. All right, Gary B says, Chris, my roos just started to crow again in about a week. In South Mississippi, eggs had slowed and hadn't picked back up yet. Sometimes your roosters will start crowing before your hens will, or hens will start laying eggs, I should say. But yeah, that's a good sign. Crowing again means if your eggs haven't started picking up, they're going to pretty quick, because if your roosters are crowing, the hens aren't far behind. They're going to get there too. All right. Jose says, okay, thank you. I'm in Kentucky. Okay, good. So yeah, that's probably the issue then. With your eggs not being fertile. That would be my guess. Just, add some more light if you have the option to do that. Get them up to about 14, 15 hours a day. Give them a little while. Wait till you start hearing the roosters start crowing. Give it about a week after that, and then you're probably going to have fertile eggs, no problem. So Kathy says, loved your beagle bark. Well, thank you. I love beagles. They're great. And Danny says, oh, how I love the sound of a beagle hot on a trail. Yeah, I do too, but your neighbors, when you live in town, don't necessarily like you having a beagle. It's kind of I like it. I like the sound of a beagle baying. I just think they're great little dogs. I love beagles. They're so much fun. One of my favorite dogs for sure. But yeah, you got to have some pretty patient neighbors to have beagles in town. All right, Roger says, "You're just a young kid." LOL. I'm 77. Yeah, well, I guess I am in ways. I mean, I'm getting older for sure. It's funny how, when I was a kid, I can clearly remember looking at like my parents. My parents weren't that old, but thinking, "Wow, they're old." When I get that age, I'm going to be so old. And now my dad died when he was 46. I'm 46 years old. I don't feel that old. I thought he was old at the time, and I don't feel that old at all. So weird how your perspective changes on those things. In a lot of ways, I do feel old because, I got fake eyes, fake teeth. I mean, not all my teeth are fake, but a couple of them are. And, I feel, I can definitely feel age creeping up on me, but I don't feel that old. All right. Jesse says, does rabbit manure ever burn plants? Any tips? Okay. No, actually, rabbit manure is a cold manure. You can put it right straight on your plants and it's going to be fine. But we kind of talked about this last week too. You don't want to just grow in nothing but rabbit manure. I mean, it's just, there's not enough there for the plants. So you don't have to worry about putting it on your plants though. It's not going to burn them. You can just throw it straight on there. All right. As far as tips go though, I mean, it's just, put rabbit manure in your garden. Put it around your plants. Don't pile it up that thick. Just a thin layer is fine. It doesn't have to be even that much. It's fine. All right. Jupiter says that is awesome. If you can handle a savanna or iguanas, you can handle tegus for sure. Yeah, I'm sure you could. I've got a pretty good scar on this thumb right here. It won't show up on video, but maybe. No, I don't think so. It's just a little white dot there now, but that was a Savannah monitor. Thought it was a mouse and clamped onto the end of my thumb. All right, Katie says, hi, Chris. I was wondering what you think about dispatching quail with a pellet pistol. Will 350 feet per second do the job humanely? I'm not feeling comfortable with the scissor method. I don't blame you. That's a little bit tricky, and I have moved to where I don't just snip their heads now. I knock them on the back of the head with a club first, which is actually a screwdriver. I just use the handle piece of it as the club. Hit them really hard right there, knocks them out, snip the head off, it's done. Yeah, a pellet pistol is going to work just fine. 350 feet per second is probably way more than you need. The tricky part is going to be to position it just right because they don't have a very big brain. So you don't want to just injure them. You want to kill them. I actually think it's probably more humane to just club them on the back of the head. It puts them out pretty quick. I will tell you one thing, though. When you do that, be careful where you're holding your hand. I've had it happen to me once or twice before where I've clubbed them like that, and their head went down and hit my finger, and their beak actually went into my finger and drew blood. I mean, it wasn't that bad. It was just mildly painful, but still, that's one thing to kind of watch out for. All right. Mr. Bunny says, how can I tell if my doe is pregnant? It's very hard to tell for sure if a doe is pregnant. You can palpate them after about 10 to 12 days, somewhere right around in there. But that's tricky. It's not that easy to do. And, you can kind of think that you feel something when there's nothing there, or think you don't feel something and there is something there. So, I mean, my best advice on that is if you had successful fall off when you went to breed, count 30 days, put a nest box in about 28 days, and expect babies on day 30. And if she doesn't have any by day 35, rebreed her and start all over again. Because it's almost impossible to tell for sure if a doe is pregnant. Sometimes you'll see behavior changes in them, but not all does do that. My doe doesn't get behavior change when she's pregnant. Just she has a behavior change once she has the babies. She's real grumpy when she has babies in there. But she's not grumpy at all like during the pregnancy. There's no difference. You can't tell. She hasn't gained weight really. She looks exactly the same the entire time. Just one day you walk out there and there's babies in the cage. It's just kind of hard to tell. All right, Waylon says, hope you have a great night. And again, I can't explain how much help you have been for me. And also, God bless. Well, thank you so much. I hope you do too, Waylon. How are we doing on time here? 10 minutes. Boy, I talked for 50 minutes already. All right. Funny you would ask this. First name, last name says, what is your opinion on coronavirus? Is it a problem? Sorry, I know this is not the topic of the channel, but I thought I would ask anyway. That's perfectly all right. I actually I was having debates about that earlier today. All right, here's my opinion on the coronavirus. It is the new hot topic for the media. That's all it is. There's media hype about it. It's a virus. It's not great, but it's really not that. It's not any worse than the flu. We make it out like it's some huge epidemic. They talk about all these people dying from the coronavirus, but the death rates are about the same, probably a little bit less than the death rates from people dying from the flu. It is, most of the cases of coronavirus are pretty mild, actually. They're not that bad. It's just the media is latching onto it because it's an opportunity to draw viewership from them, so they're making everybody paranoid about it. It's nothing to really stress out about that much. Wash your hands, try not to rub your eyes a lot. The same things you do to keep yourself healthy from the flu, from colds, from any of those kinds of things. Speaking of, we got the flu in my house, so there's a good chance I'm going to catch the flu because my wife has had it, my stepson's had it. She's just now getting over it. It's probably my turn next. Who knows? Maybe I will, maybe I won't get it. But don't stress out about the coronavirus. It's, a couple of years ago, it was SARS, and then it was Ebola. Ebola was going to come and take us all over. The bird flu or the swine flu or the what else? Measles. I mean, every year there's something different. Every couple of years anyway, there's some other pandemic that never occurs. It's not that big a deal. Watch the CDC. The CDC will tell you if it becomes that serious. It's nothing to really stress about right now. You're gonna be fine. Don't worry about it. All right. We are free to roam. Says I finally caught a live chat. I'm usually under Nature's Way Farm. Oh, okay. Well, good to see you. Thanks for joining. All right. Christian Nelson says, have you ever kept Muscovy ducks? They're great seabirds. I have not kept Muscovy ducks. I've thought about it, though, and I may do that at some point, but I have not kept them myself. And Waylon says, I had a beagle. Yeah, I've had a couple of beagles. Beagles are great. Keith says, you are right, it's not straight up, but when looking at a map of Missouri, Joplin is near the bottom, and Leesburg is north and east. So, thus, it's straight up I-44. Okay, maybe not straight up. No, I knew what you meant by straight up I-44. I was just giving you a hard time. All right, Andy says, I was in Lebanon this morning, picking up 30 Cornish crosses and 12 khaki Campbells. Love your videos. Awesome, thank you very much. I've been to Lebanon many times. Niangua River runs right through there, I think. Right through Lebanon, doesn't it? Gasconade's up near there. Niangua's there. I love Niangua River. That's a fantastic river. One of my favorites to fish. Savage Gaming says, great to see you. As long as we all wash our hands and cover our cough, we'll be fine. Yep. Yeah, actually, most of the illnesses that enter your body enter through your eyes. So avoid rubbing your eyes if you can. You guys probably see me do it all the time. Take this off, rub my eyes. Don't do that. That's a bad thing to do. I do it all the time anyway. And if you do need to, try to use like your knuckles or something, not your fingertips. Don't rub your eyes with your fingertips. That's where actually you get most of the illnesses that enter your body. Squatch says, I eat raw garlic every day. My crew has the flu and I never get it. That's probably because they keep a big distance from you. Because of all the garlic you eat. No, I'm kidding. That's an old joke. Is like, if you eat a lot of garlic, you sleep well. You sleep alone, but you sleep well. Yeah, garlic is good for you. I know it's got some health benefits and things. I don't know if I would attribute that to, not getting the flu. There's probably multiple reasons why you don't get it. I'm generally pretty healthy. I don't usually get the flu. I haven't had it in years, but my stepson's had it. He had it for a couple of days. My wife got it. She's had it for a couple of days. It's probably going to be my turn next. I'm probably going to get it, but who knows? We'll see. King Coupade says, bye, Chris. I have to go. See you later. Well, thanks for joining. Hopefully you have a good night, and we will see you later. Mr. Bunny said, how should you get fertile eggs in my quail? Does quail will be? Okay, does quail will be? I don't know. I think you're asking, how do you get your quail to have fertile eggs? As long as you have enough roosters, one rooster for every 5 to 6 hens, you have enough light, 14 hours a day of light, you should have your roosters start crowing and your hens start laying eggs. Once they do that, give them about a week and a half, and you're probably going to have fertile eggs. That's really it. You just got to have them. All right. Christina says, we have a Newcastle quarantine in my area, and we can't get more birds, including quail. Oh, that's terrible. I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully that doesn't last long. We're free to roam says, just wondering, how is your wife doing? She's doing pretty well. She's got the flu right now, but it could be much, much worse. She had a flu shot. It's influenza B, I believe. That's what the stepson had, not A, so it's not the worst one, it's the better one. And I mean, she's feeling kind of rough, but not really that bad. I think she's getting over it now on a downward swing. And I think what you were asking about though is how is she doing with her other health problems, her cancer, and all those surgeries that she went through. All that's doing great. She's pretty much made a full recovery on that stuff, and so far so good. So praise God for healing there. All right, Keith says garlic keeps vampires away as well. Yeah, it does. It keeps annoying people away too if you use it right. Marie Scott says, thank you for all your help. Have a good night. Yep. Kathy, oh, you too. Thank you for that, Marie. I appreciate it. Kathy says, 1 garlic clove and a tablespoon of honey every day keeps the doctor away. Yeah, I imagine that would. Honey's great too. You're right. Honey and garlic, lots of vitamin C, those kinds of things. I don't do any of those things. I just kind of take my chances. But we are free to roam says, what a wonderful blessing. Have a blessed night. Hope to catch you next time. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. We are getting pretty close to time to wrap this up, and the chat's starting to slow down. So, we got another one here. Let's read this one. Gary B, I have 2 to 4 raw quail eggs with orange juice. Since last summer, no flu, cold, and even sinus issues have been better. Yeah, I need to try that. I've reported on it before. There are definite... Hang on, let's read the rest of this. Biggest effect Corona will have is probably certain supplies not being shipped and stocked. Yeah, that very well could be a little bit of an issue there. It's going to go away. It's just a virus like all the other viruses that are out there. Well, not all of them, but you know what I mean, like the flu. That's really pretty much what it is. It's just another kind of strain of flu. I know it's a different virus, but it's very similar to the flu. All right. What was I going to say? Oh, I have reported before raw quail eggs. There's real scientific evidence behind that raw quail eggs have some real health benefits and can cure or treat a lot of different illnesses. All kinds of things, diabetes and eczema and all kinds of things. I don't do that necessarily. I've never done that. I should probably try it and see how it works. Couldn't do it in orange juice though. I just can't stand orange juice. I know it's weird. I don't do citrus fruits. Can't do it. I like lemon and lime in things, but not like to eat an orange or to drink an orange juice. No, don't like it. All right, one more good question here. I think Dixon's Dairy Goats says, good to see you, Chris. My question again, I have 20 mixed breed birds from eggs from a friend, and I don't know what are male and female. They do not make noise or fight. Okay, if there are standard brown color, you say mixed, so my guess is they're not. You can feather sex the standard brown color. The males have an orange, kind of a solid, well, it's not solid orange, but it's a rusty colored breast without many, if any, speckles on it. The female will have speckled brown on their chest, brown and white kind of speckled on their chest. Now, mixed birds, though, you're going to have to wait until the day gets up to about 14 hours a day of light. They start crowing and they start laying eggs, and then you can vent sex them. And I've done a video on that before. I think it was called three easy ways to sex your quail or something like that. You can look that up and watch, and I'll show you what you're looking for when you vent sex them. Explaining it's a little bit difficult, but watching it's pretty simple, really. It's not that hard. You just got to wait till the roosters start crowing, and that's going to be dependent on your day length. So you're just going to have to wait a little while, give them a little bit of time, and they'll do it, and you'll be able to figure it out. All right. All right. I'm going to wrap this up, guys. Go spend some time with the family. Thank you guys for joining. I appreciate it. Looking forward to this every week. Hopefully we will see you guys again here next week. God bless each and every one of you, and good night. Take care.